What's up guys, this is Mr. Piper here, and I'm coming at you with a deck profile now from the Dark Illusions, a deck that I've been waiting for a long time for, and I'm really happy to show you this now. It is Metalfoes. Man, this deck is really cool. It's a really new cool pendulum archetype that revolves around fusion summoning and pendulum summoning, and there's a load of ways you can incorporate fusion and Xyz summoning in this deck as well. So this is basically what I've got for now. It's definitely going to change. There's loads of different builds that I want to try out as well, namely the Draco Slayer and the Yangzing build as well. But this is basically a pure build with a couple of other cards in it as well, or as pure as you can get, I think, to make it competitive as well. I do think this deck will be competitive because of just the stuff it can run. This is also before any form of ban list has taken part, so this may change as well, but this is basically what I've got. I'll basically go through, talk about my choices, and talk a few combos that you could do as well. But we'll get into it. So, starting off with the Metalfoes monsters. So, we've got 3 copies of Stellene, 3 copies of Silvered, we've got 3 copies of Gold Driver, and we've got 3 copies of Volflame. So these are the Metalfoes basically. They all range from levels 2 to 7. Their scales are 1 to 8. There's 6 scale 1s and 6 scale 8s, so a very broad range of levels that you can pendulum summon. They all are vanillas with the pendulum effect to destroy 1 face-up card once per turn, and you can set a Metalfoes spell or trap from your deck to the field. And there's a load of different things you can do with this, which I'll get in the future. The highest one is Volflame, which is 2400, so it's not a bad beta either. And yeah, these are just very essential, and I'm very glad to have these here now. So with that, we also play 1 Luster Pendulum, just because this is really good in combination with the popping your own stuff as well. Because you can pop a Metalfoes, search the same copy, play that, and then pop Luster Pendulum to set a spell or trap. We also play 2 Archfiend in the Centrics. I couldn't find a second one. I was against this card, and then basically people told me that it outs Spirit Dragon, which is kind of a problem for Pendulum decks, but just by normal summoning and tributing it. Obviously, they're going to dodge it, but it does get Spirit Dragon out of the way. So yeah, I would play 2 of this. May bump it to 3. We'll see how we go and with the format. I also play a Magispector engine, which is 3 Raccoons and 3 Magispector Kurans. This is just the best pendulum card at the moment. I do think this might actually get hit on the ban list. And Bambook is quite essential as well, with the next card I'm about to show you, just because it's a level 3. And I did say this was pure, but in my case, the pure version of Metalfoes is Magispector pretty much. This is as pure as I can make it, with mainly focusing on the Metalfoes archetype itself. And the final monster is this. Oh, I've been waiting for this card for so long. Gofu, the Vague Shadow. So basically, this is a solo Windjammer out your hand if you control no monsters, and it summons 2 tokens, which you can't use to synchro or tribute, but you can basically banish them, I think, and special summon a Blackwing Synchro from the graveyard, but that's not what this is about. The fact this is just a level 5 tuner that you can drop from your hand on your first turn, and it summons 2 tokens that you can pop with your Metalfoes to search your spell and traps. The fact that it's a level 5 tuner also works very well with the Bombuku, which means you can synchro for level 8s, and it also works with the edge deck because you can make things like Kasolkin as well, which I'll go into in a bit. So that's the monsters. The spells is 1 Metalfoes Fusion. So this is basically, this is such a good fusion card actually. So it fuses Metalfoes, or anything to make a Metalfoes fusion monster from your hand or your field. But when it's in the graveyard, once per turn, you can shuffle it into the deck and draw a card. So it's so reusable. Like, it's actually ridiculous how much recurability this card has. And bear in mind that you can search your fusion off your Metalfoes monsters, so you're always going to have access to this. The only issue with this coming into a format which might heavily follow the OCG if everything gets hit, is that DD Crow will probably be sided quite a bit. So it may be better to play 2 of this, or maybe side another one when you're going into the second game, just in case this gets DD Crow, because you can still play, but a lot of your push plays are nullified if this gets DD Crowed. Moving on, we've got 1 Upstart, and we've got 1 Pot of Desires. Trying out this card, drawing 2 is always good, even if you do banish 10 face down. But like I say, you should always get to your fusion before activating this, because if you banish the fusion, it's the same as getting DD crowed. You're going to be struggling quite a lot, because this deck isn't as strong just in the pendulum area as, say, Magicians or Performer Power. That's where the fusion part makes up for it. So be careful when playing with this. I probably will stick at 1, just because I don't want to probably run 2, just in case. I mean, it is a good card, a very good card, but it's the whole banishing face down that is an issue. Anyway, we've got 2 instant fusions. This is to run Norden, because you can get basically any level 4 or lower back from the graveyard, obviously. And it also tutors out a level 5 Metalfoes that we run, which I'll get into in a second. We play 2 Summons Art. This is basically just to search out Volflame. And then we play 3 of what I think is the best card in the deck that's not new. Painful Decision. This gets you 3 of the 4 Metalfoes instantly. Plus, it sets up your instant fusion plays, and it also sets up one of your trap plays as well, which is really cool. And plus a rotor for the deck, which is also Foolish Burial, is not bad at all. So this is something I'm really not sure on. I've been playing around with this a lot. But at the moment, I'm playing 3 of each of the new Metalfoes trap. 3 combination, 3 counter. So combination basically works, if you fusion summon, once per turn, you can special summon a Metalfoes from your graveyard with a level less than the fusion summon monster. Plus, if this card's destroyed, you can add a Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand. So you can basically flip this, fuse, summon something back, use another Metalfoes to pop it to search another Metalfoes, so that's quite useful. Metalfoes' counter, basically whenever a card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon Metalfoes from deck. So that's really good. You can destroy your spells, traps, and monsters with either battling or fighting your opponent or your own stuff. And it gets you with Metalfoes from deck. But the second effect is really good. It's got a breakthrough skill clause where you can only activate in the graveyard as long as it's not the same turn it was sent, and you add a face-up Metalfoes Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. This is really, really, really good, just because you can pop a Metalfoes in your scale with something else, banish this and add that thing back, so you've gone +1 pretty much just by that. And also you can activate that effect as many times per turn, as long as those cards haven't been sent to the graveyard. So if you had 2 of these in your opponent's turn and you use them, you can banish 2 and add 2 from your extra deck to your hand. So that's the main deck, 40 cards. Extra deck, this isn't quite finished, this is just what I'm playing around with, but we will see. Let me just organise it a little bit. So I will go on to the fusions first. So first of all, we're playing 2 Metalfoes Adamante. So basically, this is a level 5, 2500 vanilla. It's summoned by basically using Metalfoes monster and anything with 2500 or less attack. So there's a lot of stuff you can use to get this out, mainly the fusion. You can fuse with this and pretty much anything in your deck. And also, what's good with this is you can fuse with a Gofu token. And then you can basically sync this with the Gofu to make Zolkin, and it's so easy to set cards in this deck because of your Metalfoes, so that's really good. Plus, like I say, this is the instant fusion target, so you can make some cool plays by instant fusioning this and stuff. And then we play 3 copies of Metalfoes Ori Hulk. This card's really, 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 really good. So it's 2 Metalfoes monsters, so pretty easy to make. Its first thing is that it does double piercing damage, sort of like Chaos Max, although it's weaker stats than Chaos Max, it's 28, but you can still use it very effectively. Its second effect is also really good. If it's sent to the graveyard, you destroy a card on the field. So you can pop this with your Metalfoes cards in the Pendulum Zone and pop a card. So this is really good for clearing out back row as well, and just clearing out problem cards before you Pendulum summoning. I like summoning this off the fusion and then popping it and setting something else to deal with like a strike or a warning or something, or the Pendulum Hole common trap that's come out recently in Dark Illusions. That's going to be really problematic for this deck as well. And the final fusion we play is obviously 1 Elder Entity Norden, just because, like I said, Painful Decision sends anything back, any of the 3 of the 4 vanillas from your deck to the graveyard, so you can make some rank 4 plays, or just get them back to the fusion as well. So then we play a couple of Xyz. I might add to these. These are just the ones that I'm using at the moment. I think I've got like 2 to 3 spaces left in this extra deck that I haven't quite done. But it's Magister, Paladin, Castell, and Dweller. There's probably going to be something else. I might play a Direwolf, just because you can get your own searching stuff off. But there's also a Speedroid Terratop engine that I want to play in this, which allows you to play Grand Pulse and Breaksword, and that's quite good as well. So I'm testing the Xyz out. And then the synchros that I'm playing at the moment, I may add one, but these are all really, really crucial. So I'll start off with Ultimate Zolkin. You can make this with Gofu and basically your level 5 fusion, which is really, really easy to do in this deck actually. All you need to do is see Gofu, and probably 9.5 times out of 10 you can make Zolkin and get its effect off. And to complement that, we're also playing Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, because this is probably the best card to summon off Zolkin at the moment. Shuts off all monster effects, basically can't be killed by battle because it just goes up to a ridiculous amount of attack. And it's really, really good against Blue Eyes, which is the main probably contender, depending if we follow an OCG style format. Next synchro is Ignista. You can summon this off Zolkin also if you want to, plus you can make it with Luster Pendulum. This is really good just because obviously Ignista is a really powerful card, so that's why we play that. And the final synchro that I'm playing at the moment is Cyframe Omega. This is because you can go Bombuku and Gofu, and you can also, as much as Omega is a good card, just standalone, you can recycle your Metalfoes counter to basically always make sure you have a Metalfoes from your extra deck into your hand to play with. So that's really good. But that's pretty much it, guys. I might do a combo video when I get a better sort of stand for the camera. I think Metalfoes is a really, really cool deck. Definitely pick it up. It's cheap as hell. The extra deck might be a bit pricey with Omega and Crystal Wing, but like if you can easily play this deck on a budget, no problem. It's supported by pretty much every Pendulum card that's out there at the moment, and it's just a really fun deck. Loads of combos, and very explosive. The last thing I'll say about this deck is that it doesn't have the strongest opening board as some other decks. The way Metalfoes works, in my opinion, is that it has a sort of get a Kieran out or a Zolkin out with a Crystal Ring and set a couple of traps to float and survive. And then your next turn, you've got all your resources with your traps, say the counter in the graveyard to add the stuff back, your fusion accessible with your combination to summon stuff from the grave, ability to pop the fusion to destroy your opponent's cards, and then pendulum summoning. So it has a very strong, if you went first, for instance, it has a very, very, very powerful turn 3. And then you can apply that logic also for a very powerful turn 4. But yeah, Metalfoes, man, pick it up, really good deck. And this has been Mr. Piper, hope you enjoyed the profile, and I will see you around.